People often ask me, hey, what companies are doing a great job with customer onboarding? And to be honest with you, I often don't know because the companies that come to me are the ones that need help. Most companies that I work with start off as horrors, which is why they bring me in. But some are unable to move from the horror zone while others thrive. So my question for you is, are you a customer onboarding horror or a customer onboarding hero? So let's find out what the difference is, and I'll give you examples of companies that I worked with. Well, I've been working with companies that are very siloed. So every team has separate priorities and separate metrics, and there's no executive sponsor really owning the whole approach. You know, with my orchestrated onboarding approach, it's not just one person's job or one team's job. It really is cross-functional to deliver value to customers. So we need somebody who is that owner, who is accountable. This one company I worked with, the sponsor was let go, and we really haven't had anyone who's taking ownership since then. And there were just too many people involved. And when you have too many people involved, then people aren't really involved enough. Another company I worked with, they kept redefining onboarding over and over. So they just had a lots of defining and designing, but they never got to the deploying. And so they weren't actually getting into the playbooks and making it a part of people's jobs and how the teams are being measured. They never had a rollout plan, so they never got past that design stage. So let's look at some onboarding heroes. Well, one company I worked with, they really were a horror when I started. They were selling to any company that they could find, any customer. They would throw all these deals over the fence to the implementation teams. Implementations were taking a really long time. Customers were frustrated. Implementation teams were burnt out. Sounds like a horror, but they were really open to working together. They implemented an ideal customer profile so that those customers are more easily able to implement and deliver value to. We defined an optimized onboarding framework. We clarified swim lanes, roles and responsibilities, and their onboarding dropped from their onboarding time and cost dropped by over 20%. So they can deliver faster value to customers without costing as much internally. Another company, they really are a hero because they didn't just look at this onboarding process, they looked at the whole change management. So onboarding was a mess. They had over 10 different roles involved during the onboarding period alone. And I came in and did an assessment. While I was doing the assessment, they had 150 employees read my book, Onboarding Matters, and they discussed it by different chapters over 8 weeks. So they had 8 weeks of conversation. Then I came in after that and gave the keynote at their customer experience kickoff meeting. And I shared findings, recommendations, and best practices from the assessment. And then we built out this optimized onboarding framework. We redesigned teams. They didn't have an onboarding specialist, so we designed this onboarding specialist role. And they built out a whole training program and certification program internally to ensure that these folks were ready in this new role. They implemented it in an onboarding software tool. We defined a pilot. They're rolling it out. So that is huge. They really tackled it from all perspectives. They are the biggest hero in my book because they incorporated change management very seriously. Other keys are having North Star metrics, aligned teams, executive sponsorship, and that change management we talked about. So if you don't know if you're an onboarding horror or an onboarding hero, then reach out. I can help you determine that. I have my customer onboarding assessment where I look at 5 key areas: people, processes, technology, scalability, and the customer experience. So let me know how I can help you. And to dive deeper, read my article From Silos to Swim Lanes.